I was around 4 or 5 years old, and my parents had just separated. My mom was living in a small two-bedroom apartment. I had my own room, but I liked sleeping in her bed whenever I was staying with her. Our two bedrooms were at the end of a hallway, directly across from each other. Our apartment was on the first floor, and I remember that it was in the middle of the summer and my mom had a window open in her room, which was directly behind the bed. Anyway, I woke up in the middle of the night and remember sitting up and seeing that our cat was sitting in the door frame of my mom's room. It was strange because our cat was a huge snuggler and was typically always in the bed with us. As I was watching him, he walked into my bedroom and started meowing. I turned to face my mom and wake her up. In the 3 to 4 seconds it took her to wake up and ask me what was wrong, we both looked back up in the door frame, and there was a man standing by my open door, making his way out of my bedroom. I still don't know how she managed to do it so quickly, but my mother proceeded to pick me up and literally throw me out of the screen window. She quickly followed and we were able to start screaming for help, and someone called 911. The police came but didn't see any signs of forced entry, only that our front door was unlocked, which led them to believe the man must have exited that way. But the strange thing was that my mom swore up and down that she had locked the door that night, with the deadbolt and the chain lock. About a week later, she was cleaning the kitchen and opened up our water heater closet and found a notebook with names and drawings, as well as a pair of gloves and some gum wrappers. The man had been in our house and hid until we were asleep. When I was 14, my family and I watched a news report one night about a woman who had hitchhiked from New York to the Midwestern state that I live in. Unfortunately, this woman had chosen the wrong person to hitch a ride with. She was found to be brutally stabbed, tied up in a garbage bag, and thrown in a dumpster behind a restaurant. The investigation of this murder aired on the news for about a month pretty consistently before the hype started to die down. During that summer, my best friend and I decided to hang out for a day. While we were in walking distance from each other's houses, to be realistic, it would have been faster and safer to have waited for a ride from one of our parents. We had both determined that the best place to meet was at Ballz, which was an ice cream store. There we could get ice cream, and once we were finished, we could walk back to her place. Typically, it was about a 10-minute walk from my house to Ballz, but it could take longer depending on traffic. As it so happened, it was really jammed with cars that day, and in order for me to even get across the road, I would have to run or wait until somebody allowed me to walk, since there weren't any pedestrian walkways. As I was having to cross the street for a third time, I noticed this red car ahead of me. He was parked right in front of the entrance to Domino's Pizza, not really doing anything, just kind of sitting there. I don't think this guy even worked there or was even waiting on a pizza, because I would assume if he were, he would have parked in front of the store and not at the entrance of the parking lot. As I got closer, I could feel the man leering at me. When I got a couple of feet away from the car, the man poked his head out of the window and asked me if I wanted a ride. I ignored him, not even looking in his direction, but he kept on asking me until I had finally put quite a bit of distance between the car and I. When I finally met up with my friend at Ballz, I realized I was shaking and I told her what had happened. She agreed with me that it was kind of creepy. I woke up around 7 a.m. the next morning and put on the news. The news anchor started talking about the previous murder from a couple of months back and then went on to state that the suspected murderer was spotted in my area. They then showed a picture of the car the suspect was driving. It was the exact same model and color of the guy who offered me a ride the previous day. My husband and I recently had a new baby girl. We lived in the north of England, Chester specifically, even though he's originally from Bethnal Green in London. We decided to move down to London to be closer to his parents and his new job. Anyway, we'd moved into a 3-bedroom house about 20 minutes away from his mom's house, and we'd put the bed upstairs and fixed up a Moses basket for our newborn baby girl. We'd eaten dinner and all was well. We were just exhausted from getting next to no sleep. We settled down and finally made our way to bed. Our daughter was in her Moses basket and everything was fine until my boyfriend's phone started to ring with an unknown number. He always has his iPhone for personal matters, but this was his Samsung Galaxy, which was primarily for work. He answered it and the caller hung up. We went back to sleep, only to hear creaking downstairs. As it's an old house, we simply ignored it. Eventually we got some rest, but about an hour later I woke up quickly with a deep sense that something's wrong. As I opened my eyes, I saw a dark figure reaching for my newborn child. It's a thin, dirty woman, and she is nearly touching my beautiful daughter. I shake my boyfriend awake. As soon as he sees this lady, he shouts, "What the fuck are you doing?" which scares the hell out of this woman. She hightails it out of the house. The next morning, we call the police and they come around to inspect the attic and the shed outside. It turns out she'd been living in the attic for about a week and a half, as they found newspaper scraps dated from about that time. We haven't seen her since. We've put locks on all the doors, windows, and the attic window. We still have no idea how she got up there. Thanks for tuning in, guys, and if you like what you see, please click that like button and subscribe for even more scary stories from Epic Ballz Productions. Have a great day.